For lesson 3, we're going to be putting a grommet through the top surface of the table. So let's make sure we're in the top view, and we're going to go to the ribbon and select on the rectangle tool on the draw menu, and again go ahead and start at 0, 0 and press enter, and then type in 72, 4 for the X and the Y axis. And now grab the circle tool, and we want to make sure that we have selected the midpoint that is activated, and we're going to go ahead and select the center, and it wants us to know what the radius is, and we're going to type in 1.25, which is going to give us the diameter of 2.5 inches, which is a standard grommet diameter, or the radius of 1.25, and press enter. And we want to extrude this. So type in extrude, or click the extrude icon, select the rectangle. Now we want to go through the surface. So it started at 0, 0. Type in 1.25. That'll go through the top of the surface. It's going to actually go up. And we need to inspect this. Before we get too carried away, let's make sure that the grommet hole that we've made, the cylinder, is going through the work surface. It will not work if it does not go through the surface, and in this case it is. So we started at 0, 0, and we made the grommet cylinder 1.25 inches going up on the y-axis. So once you inspect the table and you see that the grommet is actually going through, it's easiest to work in the 2D wireframe on this, but it has more impact when we do it in the conceptual mode. So here we go in the conceptual mode. We're going to find the subtract icon in the solid editing, or just go ahead and in the command line type in subtract, and then press enter. Now it's critical that we select the tabletop surf first. That's what we want to keep. So first grab the tabletop, press enter, and then we'll go ahead and select the cylinder that we made, because that's what we're going to subtract, and then press enter. And you will see that the grommet has been formed, so that wire would go right through the top of the surface. And you see these quite often on computer tables and such. Probably the table you're working on right now has a grommet somewhere on it. If not, don't do it on the job. Alright, so let's get to the top view. You should be able to see all the way through the table, and if you can't see all the way through, then you've probably not started at 0, 0, or you didn't go type in the coordinate through the table, and it's only partial through there. And I would just suggest, instead of manipulating, just start all over again. It's not that difficult. Now what we want to do is go ahead and you can do this in the isometric view. If you right click, you can click onto the perspective view. It gives it more depth. It looks a little bit more realistic, but a gray table doesn't really look all that realistic. So let's go ahead in the properties, right click on the properties after we select the object. You can use pretty much any color. I'm going to go ahead for a deeper wood color, so I'm going to do the index color of 32 or 34. In this case, we are going to select 22, which kind of looks like a little, somewhat of a cherry. Make sure you get the surface also by selecting the item, right-clicking, and hitting the properties. Color 22. Now the wood grain would come in a separate program. Typically we would use a 3ds Max or something of that nature, where we would actually apply wood texture to it. And you can change the color, you can see just by the shading, and inspect it before we move on, because we are essentially completed with this table. So inspect it, make sure the color looks good and you're happy with it. And you can also do the continuous orbit, which is a nice little feature because you just click it and let it spin on its own, and you've completed the exercise. We put a grommet in and change the color of the table, and we'll end on the top view.